I'm going to put the apples into the bottom and find my Pyrex pie pan. Oh yeah, right here, right in front of me, and make our apple. Now I'll test for size here before I lift it up. Another tool I didn't mention that works real well, this was designed to frost cakes with, but for a beginner it's going to work really well for freeing that dough from the board. And you noticed as I was rolling, every once in a while I picked it up, and it's because when I didn't want it to surprise me when I really want to pick it up and put it in this pie tin. I didn't want it to be all stuck and tear when I pick it up. So, oh, and there's another thing I want to show you is how to get this in the tin an easier way, into the pie plate an easier way. I ripped that a little bit because I had a change of mind, but I want to show you that you can put it over the rolling pin like this, and then unroll it in your pie pan as a way to pick it up. Make sure that the pastry fits the tin that it's in, and there's no bubbles. The last thing you want is a lot of air between the pastry and the pan. Then we'll put the apples and the sugar in here. Now if I was going to make a pumpkin out of this, I would leave about an inch all the way around the edge, beyond the edge of the pie pan, and then fold it under. I would lift it up, fold it under, and press it. And then it would come out looking like this. So you just make sure that the crust has found the bottom of the tin, and you have cut it an inch beyond, or half inch I should say, and then fold that down and under, and then you have a high enough edge so that this shell would receive pumpkin or custard real well. Now for the bottom of the apple to look like this could be a shell after, this could be a shell that's baked like that one, or it could be a bottom for a fruit pie. So some recipes you need baked shells, and some recipes you need to have raw shells, unbaked shells. And your recipe will specify when they start out telling you about it which you're going to have for that. Okay, now I'm going to trim the edge real good. And put the apple pies in. I have the apples all peeled. These are 7 firm green apples. These are Granny Smith. They're a choice kind. There are other kinds. Pippin, you might like Pippin or Gravstein, but Granny Smith is my favorite. And these have been sliced up early enough for this demonstration that they are beginning to turn a little bit, but it won't matter a bit in the taste. But we couldn't have everything done the last minute, so. So this was 6 apples, but they're pretty good size, and we fill the pie up a lot because when the apples cook, they cook down so much. You just have a very shallow pie if you didn't mound the apples up like this. I have the sugar mixed. There's 7/8 cup of sugar here, and a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and a quarter of a teaspoon of nutmeg. Most people like the cinnamon. I like nutmeg too, my family too, but that's according to taste. It looks like there's an awful lot of sugar going on here, but it won't be too much. When those 6 apples are cooked, you'll find that they really need all this. We dot it with butter and put water around the edge. Then we roll the top. This is an important step. Dab the edge with water so that the top crust will stick to it. When the fruit pies are cooking, it causes a lot of steam, and you have to take as many precautions as you can as to trying to keep the fruit in the pie. I'll just set this over here until I get the top done. I wish you were here to ask me any questions, but I hope I'm telling you in enough detail that there aren't any mysteries. If you had to roll out the dough again, you could, because this is a pretty rich mixture and it could stand it and not make it too tough, but it's better if you don't have to. And another thing, when you're doing it at home, use the same measuring cups. Have one for dry and one for wet ingredients, but every time you go to make your pies, you'll find that you get more consistency if you use the same ones every time. Switching around just doesn't do it. They seem to measure the same, but there is a difference. The Crisco is always going to be the same measurement, and the flour, but the flour will vary from time to time or person to person of how they spoon it in and try to get the same amount. But in the water, it's pretty safe that most of the time you're going to just use that quarter of a cup. But even that may vary a tablespoon one way or the other. Because the weather conditions changes how much moisture there is in the flour. But I don't want to make it all sound difficult, because it isn't. So I'm going to dot this with butter now. The butter smooths out the acidity of the acid in the fruit. Of course, butter always seems to make everything taste better anyway, no matter what you put it on. I'm making some slashes in the top to let the steam escape so that the crust won't be lifted up by the steam. More difficult than some that I've made recently, but that's where this big spatula comes into being. And I'm going to lift it up, put it on the pie that way. If that's a difficult way for you to start and your dough comes out more moist than this one happened to for me, you could fold it in half and pick up the dough, lay it across, and unfold it. Now we're going to trim it. I didn't roll it real big, so we don't have much to trim here. Then I use the handle of the knife is just the right tool for me to make an edge on it that makes me happy. Now with the bottom crust dampened, and I'm sticking the top crust to the bottom crust and helping that seal keep the juice in. To make it more pretty, I'll just flute it a little bit. This isn't necessary, but it makes it a little bit prettier. And my little finger is just the size that makes the indentation that makes me happy. It's like putting a signature on your pie. Whatever pleases you and looks good to you, that's the way it ought to be. You could do it with your thumb like this, your thumb and forefinger. Now this is just about ready for the oven. We need one more thing. And we're not going to bake it right now, so I'm not going to do it right now because once the half and half gets brushed onto the pie, it should go right into the oven. So I would just pretend I'm dipping this brush in. Don't use enough so that you have puddles on it, but cover it completely. This is half and half, but whole milk would work the same way. Just brush it like that. And it's ready for the oven. Now, this is stabbed here. If I was going to make a plain shell, like the bottom of the apple pie looks identical to this. Now, if this was going to be a baked shell to be ready for the cream pies that we talked about earlier, chocolate, coconut, banana cream, here's an unbaked shell that has perfectly formed to the bottom of the tin, and what we have to do is let that air, the steam escape. When it's baking, the steam has to escape, or else it'll lift the dough up and it won't be in the form of the tin any longer, and you won't have room for your cream. There's hardly an inch that doesn't get treated in this manner. Okay, now this is the shell ready to be baked for a cream. If it's going to be an apple bottom, of course, or pecan bottom, you wouldn't be doing that. The filling would hold it. The apple pie that you saw is put together is baked now. It baked in the